The following is a DJ Ski presentation.
Ski TV. Ski TV Live right here with Chris Cornell. The new album is Scream, finally in stores today. And we actually have a special contest going right here. If you email us right now the receipt from your iTunes of you buying the album, it's only $7.99. Email scream@ski.tv. We're giving away 100 tickets to your North American tour where you can actually go behind the scenes, and we're going to do a meet and greet with Chris. Much more. You have until Wednesday at midnight. Email your iTunes receipts, scream@ski.tv. Right now, the window's blowing. We're also going to be taking questions right now from fans, twitter.com/Chris Cornell. Getting your questions directly to Chris. And it is the real you on Twitter, right?
Yeah, it is.
There's been a lot of things,
yeah.
so.
I've had fake me's before.
Twitter.com/Chris Cornell, ask your questions. Twitter.com/DJ Ski, ask me to ask the questions for Chris. So anyways, the album, how is it? It's been a long time, and there's been a lot of mixed reviews and stuff about it. How do you feel like people are like, you sold out by working with Timberland? What's your response to that? Just fresh off the bat.
I think the sell out question is always a little weird. I don't think it's possible to really sell out.
It's not a pop album.
Yeah.
Like, people think just because Timberland's associated with it, there's not like, I'm on a pop station, Kiss FM, kissfm.com, keyword ski. But it's not a true pop record in that format where it's like the Britney Spears, and it's music that, it's R&B.
Even performing that album live, which I've done 12 times, it's so not a pop album in that there are no breaks. It's an hour of continuous music. When I did live, I didn't even really have the opportunity to address the audience in between songs and do like the normal hype shit that people do to get an audience going. Yeah. All the tricks that people use in a live setting. Because it's continuous music. Someone in my position, if I wanted to sell out, I would just try to get one of my older bands back together that people ask me about in every single interview, and
make a ton of money.
And
just touring.
Sure, do a thing like, we'll go play, big show and get paid for an hour of playing songs that I wrote in 1992.
Yeah. I think it's a big risk. We're doing what you did, especially taking the leap to Timberland's core audience here, a new artist. I get a lot of questions even with posting our stuff like, hey, who's Chris Cornell? I've heard the name, I don't know what it is. And then amongst your core audience who thinks, because you don't have guitars and because you're working with Timberland, without even listening, they don't even give it a chance.
Well, if you look at reviews, like online reviews and that kind of thing, or if you look at iTunes reviews, it'll be like 1 star and then 5 stars. And it's basically sort of a polarizing album, which I actually think is a really good thing. Because that sort of going down the middle, like I listen to his album, it's okay. Yeah. It's like I absolutely hate it. I think if somebody is deciding that they absolutely hate this album right now already, and it just came out, then they probably didn't really listen to it, or they didn't listen to it a few times, or they listened to it with the prejudice of
expecting an old, Soundgarden, Audio Slave, whatever.
Or just wanting to hate it. Some people just want to, they listen to music and are fans of music like they wear certain clothes, and it's like, I'm not going to listen to this. And at the end of the day, too, it's okay. Everyone's allowed to like or dislike music. There's a lot of music I hate. There's a lot of music I don't know how anybody could possibly want to listen to. So, it's fair enough at the end of the day. But for me, I'm also a fan of a lot of different kinds of music, and when people ask me questions, and this isn't even about fan responses. This is more about media and journalists and doing a lot of interviews lately. I'll get questions like, why is it that you had this one sound and now suddenly you're shifting to do something else completely different? And I don't know how to answer that because I think about my entire history, and what are you talking about, one sound? I've taken so many left turns in my career that I don't even know how to answer that.
Which is almost why you took a bigger risk doing an album like this that's unsure, and that you knew going in was a lot of people weren't going to understand, and to come out, and get the reaction. Like you said, it's all like, I was looking at iTunes and all the reviews are either 5 stars, the best, most unique, cool, crazy thing I've ever heard, or 1 star with a lot of reviews that people haven't even listened to it. They're just like, why is he working with Timberland? You know, like, would you say you've accomplished the sound that you wanted to going into the album?
I definitely accomplished what I wanted going into it. It isn't what I expected going into it because I didn't really have expectations.
Yeah.
What I wanted to do was just have fun working in a completely different environment than I'd ever done before with someone I didn't even know, and that trust factor of collaborating with someone that I don't even know with the goal of making something that we both loved. And that collaboration turned it from a 6-week project into a 6-month project, which is like this concept album that's an hour of continuous music. But for me, it's at the end of the day, it's about that. It isn't about like what clothes and what package the music comes in or what generates the sounds. It's about music and having fun and being inspired making it, and that's it.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, right now we're going to take it directly to the fans. A lot of people are asking you questions right here. Twitter.com/Chris Cornell. I'm going to read them off and we're going to get your answers directly from Chris. Let's take a question from Morgan, who wants to know, do you consider your music to be evolving? And number 2, what's your favorite track on screen?
Right now, my favorite track is Time. I don't know why. I usually don't have favorite tracks, but it just reminds me of a lot of records from the late 60s, early 70s when soul music and R&B music started to kind of include social themes. And it was a really vital time in music that I'm a huge fan of, and it reminds me of that. I feel like my music or anyone's music in terms of evolution is like, we look at evolution as like upward and downward. I think of it as lateral. I think of musical evolution as like, music is infinite, and so I'm kind of moving in lateral directions, and this is probably my biggest leap in a lateral direction.
Fun. Okay, cool. This next one comes from Tyree, who wants to know, would you rather sing acoustic in front of a small crowd or sell out a stadium and rock it?
I want to always be able to do all those things. I remember doing Guns N' Roses shows where Soundgarden was opening for Guns N' Roses and playing in front of like 70,000 people, and then we would do a club show in front of like 1,000 on our days off because they only played 2 shows a week. And that was probably the most exciting thing because it was just so weird to go in front of that many people and then shrink it down to like a little event, and then the next day it had to be huge. I like all of it.
Crazy, cool. Akito wants to know, what made you decide to collaborate with Timberland on this project?
I had this sort of vision in my mind of singing over something and writing lyrics over something, a musical backdrop that was different than anything I'd ever done, and therefore I would sort of respond to it differently as a lyricist, as a singer. Wanting to make an album where I didn't rely on any of the usual musical creative responses that I would normally do, that are comfortable, that I know work with my fans every time. I wanted to do something that was riskier and do something that was more challenging than that.
Yep, absolutely. DC Gnome 4 says, Chris, I love Scream. Reaction to the album has been pretty diverse. Were you expecting some of the more negative ones?
That's easy math. I mean, this is me on the phone. Before I ever met Timberland, you want to make an album? Timberland said, yeah, I'd love to make an album. Great. They hang up the phone. That math's done. A lot of people are going to be totally hating on that idea. They're going to hate the album. They're going to want to kill me for it. So what?
Cool. A video Cartagena just says, thanks for making a good music. No real questions here. Just congratulations on a great job.
That's great. Thank you.
J Jimmy 65 says, are you still looking California and feeling Minnesota?
Yeah, always. I'm actually in California now. I'm not sure what I look like. I look like me, but...
Yep. Mancunian Lee says, what track are you most proud of?
Well, Mancunian, if that's how you pronounce your name. I'm proud of the whole thing. To me, the album's sort of like one long song, like an hour-long song. And anyway, it depends on my mood. Usually I don't pick favorites, so whatever I'm in the mood for.
Yep, cool. Reinvent Love says, how do you decide which songs to perform on stage? And also, do you like having an opening act?
I like having an opening act. As far as choosing set lists, oftentimes it's when I arrive at the place. I don't know why, even because it's not full of people yet. I'll just sort of vibe it out, and I just kind of get an idea of what's going to work. I don't know if it's the place. I feel like it's the place. I just get a feeling for what'll work.
Cool.
And then do whatever I want.
Perfect. Robert Rich says, first grunge with Soundgarden, now beats with Timberland. What's next? Chris Cornell in the Philharmonic? Opera?
Good idea. Good idea.
Might be next. Kitten Persona says, how does someone in your position deal with critics and not let it get to you?
I've been sort of dealing with that forever. I mean, Soundgarden really was my first band because I was in a lot of bands that I hated from like 17 to 21. And I was trying to find music that I loved. So I started writing music and started that band so that I would be in a band that I loved. And we were pretty much hated for a couple of years because we did things that people didn't think was allowed. Like we added 70s influences to post-punk indie music, which was not cool. 70s influences were not allowed. 70s music in terms of rock was not allowed. And it was kind of us against the world. I mean, I started that way. So it's business as usual for me.
Cool. Alexa says, no question. Just want to tell you that I'm excited to see you here in Kansas City at the Voodoo Lounge. We're getting a lot of questions and fans that are saying they're looking forward to your tour. What are you looking forward to on your North American tour?
This is kind of the best time for me live ever because I'm doing everything from my entire history, anything I feel like.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how many songs that we have rehearsed with my band, but anything, all the way up through my new album. And one of my only concerns about the new album was how would it fit with older music live, because it's sonically so different. But I've been out on the road doing it. I've done it where I play the whole album and then some older songs. I've done it where I play a mixture of everything, dropping new songs in with old songs. And not only does it work, it really, I think, elevates the set because we go to a different place rhythmically and sonically that otherwise I can't go with anything but songs from Scream. So I'm having the time of my life.
The next question comes from Tim Pons, who says, we never saw your hip-hop side before. Can we expect new adventures from you in different genres in the future, like jazz?
I don't know. Right now I'm just kind of dropping Scream and going out there to tour and perform it and play songs. So who knows? I mean, anything can happen. Probably not jazz though.
Okay, this one comes from Gonzata. ¿Qué expectativas tienes de tu segundo concierto in Chile?
Absolutely. Love Chile. One of my favorite places I've ever played.
Good question.
What's that mean?
Answer. I don't know, but I'm trying to answer everybody's question from Twitter and stuff. So we will be in Chile right here. You're going to see it right here on Ski TV.
25th.
So, and then we'll go to the next question. Bulls2DB says, are you going to plan on playing any more covers like you did with Billie Jean?
Yeah, I'm sure at some point I'll do more covers. That's something that ends up happening usually when I'm on the road and I'm in between shows and I want to play something that I just don't know. I want to do something fresh and I'll sit and figure out a song and then play it that night, usually wrong, which is how Michael Jackson's cover happened. Well, it started as a joke, kind of.
Really?
Yeah, and then I turned it into what it was, and people sort of responded emotionally to it, and then that became interesting. So, but that happens on the road usually.
Yeah, cool. Mr. Ostrich says, how comfortable were you at first when deciding to go down this alternative route for your new album?
To me, it was really exciting. You know, it just seemed like artistically like a very specific vision. It wasn't mixed up. It wasn't like a combination of ideas where you had to sort of compromise a vision. It was very specific, and I was confident and really excited about it.
Cool. Claire O'Brien says that you said you sometimes think of songs as being like children. Do your songs surprise you, and how they change, and how do they change as you grow?
I think in a live context they change. I think in terms of like the songs on the album, the recorded versions, they always have their own life. I think as time goes on, different people discover them. I mean, they mean different things to every person that listens to them, and that always evolves.
Yep. Guy Dunphy says the new album is immense, and the show in London blew me away. Thanks for putting on such a brilliant gig.
Cool.
How was the tour in Europe that you just went through?
It was great. All of the shows were what I call Scream shows, where I play the whole album, and some of them were the best like ever. And then London, I did that, and then I also played a show in London where it was really 2.5 hours of kind of everything, plus the songs from the new album. It was great.
Cool. Fisto Lemon asks, what was the most important turning point in your life? It's deep.
That is. Probably when I started playing music. I was lucky because I didn't I realized somewhere in my mid-20s, all my friends that were around me were starting to like ask the same question as we'd be sitting around getting drunk. They would be saying, God, I just don't know what I want to do with my life, you know, that kind of drunk talk. And I realized I never had to ask that question, ever, because I discovered that that was what I wanted to do at a really young age.
Cool. James RP says, thinking back 18 years, what music did you envision making in the future, now, the present day? Anything like you are now?
It's hard to say. I definitely envisioned having a musical life that would include kind of anything I wanted and have it be extremely diverse. That I definitely thought about. But I never projected, I never saw a trajectory of like, I want to be doing X at some point.
Yeah. Absolutely. Grant Ross says, do you have a sense of what direction you want to take on your next album and anybody that you want to work with in the future?
Yeah, I don't know about, I've had 3 or so at least ideas about a future album or a next album, and have already kind of thought about those ideas and changed my mind. We'll see what happens.
Cool. Jesse asks you, Chris Cornell, if you were a Muppet character, which one would you be?
Let's see. I don't know. I'd be a cross between a few of them. I'd probably be somewhere between Animal and Kermit. I think that's exactly who I am.
Hey. Why is that?
Because I'm somewhere between wild and crazy idiot boy and then the sort of articulate, introspective frog character.
Cool.
I found out that this famous artist, has this Kermit the Frog crucified that is an art piece that apparently is worth tons of money, and it's like created this worldwide stir. Mm-hmm. And I did that 25 years ago. I crucified little Kermit and had him above my fireplace, and I didn't get any props for it at all, which kind of pisses me off.
Yeah, that's crazy. Next time. Well, now maybe people will on Twitter.
I think he might have somehow saw that or heard about it and stole my idea.
I think so. Big J from STL says, will there be any remixes coming out for any of your new songs? It would be cool to see people like DJ Tiesto remix one of them. There's
tons of remixes of different songs. Mostly, I think, Part of Me, and there's a few on Scream. Yeah. How do they hear those, Ski?
I don't know. That's no comment. Anyways, Tastika says, are you honestly proud of Scream? And if so, why?
I think it's easily among my favorites in terms of albums I've made to listen to. I've probably listened to it more than any other album because it's the most, like, it stands out the most in terms of it being something that feels fresh and new to me. Also, it covers a certain period in music for me that I was influenced by really authentically, I think, that I've wanted to do for years.
Absolutely. Another one from Jesse who says, I saw you on the Project Revolution, and you and Chester's voices together was an experience they'll never forget. Any collaborations between you and Linkin Park in the future?
Yeah, we talked about doing different things. They became friends of mine, from that tour, and
they were actually at the LA concert when you performed it live. Chester showed up and supported.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, I'm sure we'll do something at some point.
Cool. Eriksson 222 says, Watch Out is by far my favorite track, especially with Timberlands' now part. What is your favorite part of working with Tim?
He was really surprising as far as what he would bring in. The thing about the album Scream too is that you don't really know where the influences are going to come from. Some of the like sort of soul, funk, rock, R&B stuff kind of came from me, and some of the rock influences, the more rock influences, came from Timberland, who would bring in a beat like Watch Out.
Cool. The next one comes from Blue Lorca, who says, do you feel as if you sold out and became mainstream, or did you always want to work in this type of genre?
I don't know if it's a genre. I'm still trying to figure that out, because Scream doesn't really remind me of anybody else's record. It doesn't remind me of any particular genre of music at all. It has elements of several different ones in it, but otherwise I think it sounds new. I think it's a new sound, and it's a different thing than anything else out there.
Absolutely. Mo3010 says, are you sometimes tired to do what you do, or does the negative feedback energize you even more?
I don't really pay much attention to the negative feedback. I don't think, and this is probably universal, most people who really like do music because they love it don't do it for, it's going to sound bad, but they don't really do it for other people. They do it for themselves.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think that, you know, as long as I'm doing something that inspires me, other people out there will be inspired by it. That group of people is going to change. It's going to get bigger. It's going to get smaller. It's going to be older, younger. It's going to be different as time goes on. But there's always going to be people that are inspired by music that I make if I'm inspired to do it, and that's kind of my rule.
WT Fitzsteven says, you seem to like jackets and coats. Where do you buy them at?
My wife buys my jackets and coats. I don't like to shop. I don't shop ever. So
there's the answer.
Yeah.
Digital Vomiting asks, aren't you missing guitars and the real sounds at all? Breaking guitars some deeper meaning, or is that just a flick?
Yeah, I mean, I've spent a lot of hours with guitars and still do, and really, you know, Scream has guitars on every single song, and there are songs on Scream where I actually tried to add more, and it just had a negative effect on the vibe and the feeling of the song, so I chucked it.
Jerry Jacqueline wants to know, if you could have anyone cover one of your songs, who would it be?
Paul McCartney. It doesn't matter what song. That would be great, though.
Oh. Yo Winch says, does it bother you that people either love or hate the new CD? Which I love it, by the way.
I think it's a great thing. Especially like the polarization, the love it, hate it. It makes people talk about music. It makes people sort of maybe even ask themselves why. Like, why do I not like this? Or why do I love this?
Cool. Vic773 says, I've noticed your writing has a very spiritual feel. What do you like spiritually, and what questions do you still have?
I kind of, in a sense, believe in that sort of altruism, Buddhism thing, that it's not that there are no answers, but that there are no questions.
Jayhawk209 says, how do you keep it exciting and fresh when writing new music today?
I kind of just go with whatever feeling I have, and I allow myself to be inspired by anything. So it could be listening to other people's music, it could be just listening to the music that's in my head, it could be watching a movie, it could be anything. It could be literally picking up an instrument and playing it, and the first few sounds come out, I hear a song in it, and there it is.
Cool. Eddie Money says the new album is great. Have you been catching shit from your fellow rock friends for doing a somewhat R&B album?
No, in terms of my friends in rock music, no. I mean, I feel like this is one of those things that's sort of a forbidden fruit, and whether people love it or hate it, I actually think I opened up the door for a lot of people in rock who might have been nervous about doing something, you know, in a different way, and you know, they can go do it and say, look, Cornell did it, so you know, get mad at him first.
Okay. Lush Luck says that sounds too good to be true about you answering questions on Twitter, which you're actually really doing, and you can see it's him, so it's not any fake things. Who's been the greatest musical influence on you, and what's your current favorite musical act?
I don't know the greatest musical influence, but probably the Beatles, because when I was a little kid, I had their whole catalog, and I sat in my bedroom and listened to it for about 2 years. And something about that, it made me realize that music was important to me as a fan. And in a sense, that's what writing music and making albums is to me. I'm a fan of music, and I'm trying to create music that I can then listen to and be a fan of. And I think that, you know, I got that mostly from them. Also the diversity part. I didn't even have the sleeves on the album, so I didn't know what they looked like. I didn't know who sang what song, or that there were different singers on, you know, lead vocalists. Yeah. And they did anything they wanted. They did Helter Skelter and Yesterday at the same time, and that was the same singer. Yep. So that's where I learned that that's what music is, and I just kind of got stuck in me. Like you should be able to do anything you want ever.
JJ Mack says, would you say your vocal range is natural, or do you practice a lot? That screaming to the solo and Let Me Drown gives me the shivers.
I think I sing out of my normal range. There are a lot of singers I know where when they're talking to you, you can kind of hear their singing voice in their voice, and most people say they don't hear mine. I sure don't. And so that definitely requires me singing. A lot. Over a period of like several years, I kind of started singing. I started coming down to my range because I got sort of sick of it. You know, I was singing so high on some songs that I started getting embarrassed when I would listen to it. Mm-hmm. So I started writing songs where it was more in a register that I felt was less show-offy. Mm-hmm. And then in doing that, when I decided to go back and start doing older songs that were really high, mm-hmm. it took probably 6 months before I could kind of own that register again. So I think I really have to sort of be singing, you know, all the time in these different ranges to always have that.
Cool. Julie Goodacre says, what was the inspiration for Sweet Revenge?
It was a lot of different things. The lyrics on Scream are like most lyrics in most of my albums, where it's a combination of personal, autobiographical, and people I know, their stories, as well as just characters I make up.
Cool. Geese82 says, will you be in a band again, or stay just solo and collaborate with people?
Probably not in a band situation for more than like an album. I mean, I could see doing a one-off kind of collaboration with a band, tour, make an album, that kind of thing. I think that could be cool. But I spent more of my career in the context of like a band scenario and that sort of democratic way of being in a band, and I would prefer to spend more time being able to just kind of do whatever I want in the spur of the moment when I think of it.
Cool. And your laptop is officially dead.
Wow.
We've gone through all the questions we can right now. Twitter.com/Chris Cornell. You're going to be answering questions all the time now. Twitter, what do you think of all the people? You got a lot of feedback from questions I didn't ask, and just people that supported the album and stuff. What do you think, you know, now that it's out there? Before it seemed to got a lot more hate. Now that people are really listening to it, they seem to really enjoy and love it. What's your reaction?
I think, first of all, that's really great. I think I got a lot of support from fans even before it came out.
Yep.
When I did the Scream shows here and in the UK and Europe, those were hardcore fans that showed up, that really supported it. Most of them hearing songs from it for the first time. And that made me feel really supported by the fans. Like, I can really step out on a limb, because they can't really go out much further than this.
Yeah.
Unless I go into like just an album of chanting or something.
Somebody actually, I didn't read the question, but there was somebody that recommended you doing an album with Tony Bennett.
Really?
Yeah.
He's a great singer.
That'd be kind of cool, actually. Yeah. That actually inspired something right there.
Maybe.
No, don't worry.
No, I actually do think he's a good singer. Anyway, I've been really sort of motivated by that support and moved by the support. And I think that now that the record's out and people will actually get to hear it, that kind of like predisposition and making a decision about something before people hear it will eventually sort of go away, and the responses will become more honest, which is, I really don't like this, or I really do like it. And my feeling is that the music on the album will actually turn a lot of people around. I know people who are friends of mine that didn't like it, and actually had it, and listened to it first and hated it. And then as they kept listening, it became one of their favorite albums that I've ever done. And that was their honest response to me, and I feel like that's going to be something that happens. And I also feel like there's going to be people who will just continue to hate it, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't hate them for hating on the music. Everybody, like I said, has a right to like or dislike anything they want musically. It's absolutely their right. And there's so much, like I said, musically that I don't understand how people can listen to it.
Absolutely. Well, I commend you for taking the chance, putting together an amazing album, in my opinion, like that, and taking the time out to answer fans' questions. You don't hate guitars. You have a ton of guitars here in the room, too, which we'll show in a second. And, we're giving away, thanks for giving us a bunch of tickets to give away right now. Email us, scream@ski.tv, forward your iTunes receipt from purchasing this whole Scream album. It's only $7.99. Mm-hmm. It's a good investment. And then you can win a chance to meet and greet Chris. We're giving away over 100 tickets to your whole North American tour. So come see us. That's how it goes down. Ski TV, Chris Cornell. Scream out now.